Hey, produce people, welcome back to the Produce Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Kelly, also known as Lil Citrus, coming to you live from Tampa, Florida. That's right, everyone, here in the Ag Life Media Studios, the Produce Industry Network. We're here to deliver the freshest message possible day in and day out. So super excited to be here. We got a cool little podcast today with a very important person, a VIP. No stranger to the show either, everyone, and no stranger to the stage either. So we're going to have fun today with our subject matter expert. We're going to talk a little bit about the NGA conference. But before we do all that, I do have a couple announcements, as always, before we get started, okay? And what's the date today? Well, it's 2 weeks away from July, June 23rd. We've got a lot going on. So if you look at the end of June, a couple of weeks just left, we actually have, though, if we go forward just a little bit, we've got OPS at the beginning of the month. July 8th. So we've got that going on in Monterey, California. Cool thing about that is I found a very cool brand, Rowdy Rabbit Organics, which I got to stop by the booth. If you've seen it, it's a cool rabbit, cherry tomatoes, a lot of other cool things. I'm going to look forward to seeing them. Dan might be stopping by that booth. Another one, too, that within another conference that is coming up in July as well, which is going to be the IFPA Food Service Conference. Now, we will be there. Juanita will be on site. This segment at IFPA Food Service is going to be powered by Zag Technical Services, everyone. I love partnering with people that are trying to create better waves, better ideas, and innovate in our industry. And I'll tell you what, you never know when you're next. You're thinking like, what are you talking about? No, you never know. And cybersecurity is one of those things. You get hacked. I've been hacked. It was crazy as my iPhone's been hacked. And people are always like, how'd that happen? I have no idea. But you never know when you're next. And that's why it's important to understand cybersecurity. So check out Zag Technical Services. Stop by their booth because they will be talking about cybersecurity checklists, all kinds of things that will help you safeguard everything digitally. So booth 1107, Zag Technical Services. And then if we move in, keep moving in, but in August, which we've got a couple things going there, but I'm not going to go too far into it. But I did forget to tell everyone that I will be heading to New York the middle of July. I'm taking my daughter there, and it's something very special for me and for her, right? But we have a billboard in Times Square above the Pele soccer shop, and we were going to be promoting all things fruits and veggies. So we were able to get that scored with another podcast group, and they had an opening, and they decided to pick us for that. So we're really excited. So stay tuned for that. I just never in my life would dream or thought about being on a billboard in New York, and it's going to happen. And I'm super excited to be there to do it. And I'm not just representing myself, everyone. What I'm doing is I'm representing us, the produce industry. This podcast is not about me. It's about you. It's about the produce industry. And when you take out Patrick Kelly, you still have the produce industry podcast with whoever, with you. It could be. So really excited to do that. And next to talk about, right, we're going to talk about the NGA. So again, a lot of fun things, lots happening. And it seems like conference after conference after conference. The NGA show I thought was great. I got invited, I say hit the last minute, okay? And I got invited out there to moderate a panel that was about AI, retail, replenishment, and integration, which is obviously something that is needed in the produce industry and the retail sector. We hear it all the time. Shrink is one of the biggest problems that we see in that sector, right? So that's going to be one thing that is a must, okay? That was fun. That was extremely fun. And I'm going to tell you this, right? We are going to dive into it with our guests. Okay. But I will tell you the NGA Fresh Summit, which wrapped up again on Wednesday in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it was enjoyable. And it's not a trade show, it's a conference. So it brought together grocers, suppliers, industry leaders. We all delve into, what's fresh. I mean, literally, and even figuratively, everyone, in the world of the independent grocers. Some things we just don't think about all the time because you might be at Walmart or Publix or Aldi's, right? Because they're those main staples. But this show is about independence. And there was a lot that went on from the panels and key sessions. They were amazing, from fresh produce merchandising and innovations. We heard from the meat departments, operations managers on everything on how to drive the independent grocers forward in innovation, in marketing. Heck, I even heard from Gary Baker from Lamb's Fresh Market. And it was funny because he was talking about all these videos he does in the store and how he tries to interact and create excitement around beef. He's a meat manager. And then we started talking about like how to get growers involved. Really cool. And it's fun to see that, because this is what I will tell you. I do shop at Walmart. We all shop at Walmart. Okay. And maybe you don't, but I hate going to a store, and I'm not talking about Walmart specifically, but asking a question. Hey, do you know what aisle this is on? I don't know. Check there. What about there? Or they tell you an aisle and you go down and it's not there. Now, granted, we all know where everything is at Walmart, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't know where things are at Aldi's or Publix or any, right? Or even Independence. One thing I can tell you, at Independence, right when you walk in the store, there's a hello, there's a hi, and not from a security guard, everyone. And again, I always say that because this is the way that it was. And people still want to interact that way as well. From network and industry connections, right? We got to go visit a pizza factory. There were store tours that we'll talk about. All along this journey, we had an amazing time. Okay. And what we're going to do in the show today, our subject matter expert, our VIP, everyone, is going to be on today from 10 Acre Marketing. And you're like, wait, do I know somebody from 10 Acre Marketing? You know you do. You know you do. You might have an account manager, or you might see her all the time. So we'll bring Mary Heslep on. She moderated the entire NGA event, did an amazing job, but has a lot of key insights and takeaways for you. Trust me, we're gonna have some fun on this, okay? And this is what we're gonna talk about too. Looking ahead, what we're looking forward to, marketing. I mean, communication, people engagement. Kind of sounds like an independent grocery store, doesn't it, everyone? So this is what I would like to do. Normally, I'll talk for the first 8 to 20 minutes, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from one of our sponsors. We're going to get Mary on right away to start having an open conversation about this. And I think it's time that if you're not on the independent train, if you're not part of these conferences, not trade shows, conferences, it might be the time. It might be the time to start looking at where you invest your money, right? How you invest your money. So let's take a quick break, hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
120 years ago, in Groningen, the Netherlands, a small produce business began, trading fresh local fruits. By the 1930s, the Vandenberg family moved to Rotterdam, Europe's burgeoning fruit hub. But when the 1940s brought turmoil, they fled to America, rebuilding their legacy in fresh produce. In 1958, Jack Vandenberg became a trailblazer, importing fresh Chilean fruit to the US, opening doors to global flavors. Today, that spirit of growth and innovation continues, with sustainable packaging, carbon footprint tracking, and the finest fruit varieties. We're redefining freshness for the future. Family, fresh, innovation, celebrating a legacy 120 years in the making. This is Jack Vandenberg.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Produce Industry Podcast. If you're just joining us, welcome. It's always great to hear from Dynamite sponsors creating dynamite content for the produce and supply chain industry. Everyone, let's just get it going. Let's get Mary on, because I want to eat a banana right now. And I think that she might have a few to say while I eat my banana. But let's go ahead and welcome Mary. I wanted a banana break. What can I say?
Okay, take your banana break. That's okay.
We're allowed to do that on a produce podcast, right? Like, that's not rude.
I mean, I don't know if people love to watch us eat, but if we were in a in the office environment, we'd be sitting in the kitchen watching each other eat. So go for it.
I'm just saying. And what better way to promote fresh consumption?
There you go.
By actually eating it. I get Mary, it's funny. We obviously we talk a lot. We see each other at shows, and it's so crazy because I get so picky in my eating at shows because I don't eat the way that other people eat, and things bother my stomach. And I'm like always on the hunt for eating fresh produce and grabbing apples and bananas and all this different stuff. And that's what people say. They're like, "Man, you really do eat and do what you say." And I'm like,
yeah.
My body doesn't allow me to eat all that other stuff. It just doesn't. And over time, I've just had to change, right?
I've been so excited that hotels tend to put a bowl of apples or oranges out more and more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
I've emailed Marriott to thank them for that in the past. I want more fresh fruits and vegetables for free. I think that's a lovely gesture. I like the chocolate chip
Wow.
cookie too. I'll take that if I'm checking in late night. But yeah, give me more fresh produce. I love that.
I agree. Listen, I had one banana. I'm about to down number two. You know what is something cool that happened to me last week?
Yeah.
So I went to 7-Eleven, and 7-Eleven, they always have the 2-for-1 banana special. The local 7-Eleven right by my office said, "Hey, would you like to donate?" And I was about to say no, like, no, right? And she goes, "Would you like to donate 2 bananas to the homeless?"
That
And
is cool.
I was like, "What?" I go,
Always.
"What'd you say?" She goes, "Would you like to donate 2 bananas to the homeless?" She goes, "We partnered with a food bank here in Tampa. You buy 2 more bananas. We throw them in this bin to the left. The food bank picks them up every day."
Yep.
I said, "Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely, Mary."
Yep.
That's what, listen, I don't want you to be homeless, but yes, I want you to have good fruit if you are. I want you to be able to survive one more day by knowing you have good food, not processed or ultra, high manufactured fructose food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
it was so cool. Made
You
my
know,
day, actually.
Patrick, of course it did. Of course it did. We heard a lot of that from the independent grocers that we talked to this week about how they support their communities. And it dawned on me that when you have a smaller business and a smaller footprint in a community, you really have a greater opportunity to be nimble enough to impact those in your community that can't support themselves, right? And so listening to some of the programs that they're doing to make sure that they're leveraging grants and funds, SNAP and WIC, but also the philanthropic opportunities for them to engage their communities. And we can talk about some of those stories. What happens in a natural disaster, for example, was really impactful. And I think some of our larger grocery stores just don't have the infrastructure to be able to execute as quickly as these independent guys can.
No, and that's part of the shrink process, right? Like that's one of the problems that we see is because there's so much shrink in the stores
Yep.
because of these issues. And what I love about some of these independent grocers that I met is so Flash Foods. Did you get a chance to talk to that gentleman with Flash Foods? So they actually partner. They have a mobile app that actually donates, sells fresh produce. I'm still learning about it, but I have a call with them next week. But it was so amazing to see the cause, right?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I mean, it was sad. I would tell you, I walked from hotel to hotel, and bums on the street, and it's not even bums anymore. It's families. Like I actually saw a family of 5 in a tent, and the girls were playing with their dolls outside of the tent like it was nothing, right? And it hurts me that way. But I also know that there's companies and independents, grocers. 7-Eleven's not independent, but look what they're doing, right? It gives me hope because I feel sometimes, and I'm going to say this comment and then we're going to move on because I don't want to get too political in this aspect, but it hurts my heart. And I feel that we fail as a community when that many people are on the street. Listen, I understand if there's an issue and maybe you got into the wrong side of, drugs or whatever, you know what I mean? But I should never see children on the street. And it breaks my heart. But knowing that the community, like these independents we met, are doing something, and even the wholesalers, right? So yeah.
Yes.
And again, I always say, like, I want to move on from that comment because it could go in different ways, but it does. It breaks my heart. It really does.
Well, a heartwarming story came out of one of these independent grocers in the Midwest when they had a tornado that came through and ripped up the one grocery store that they did actually have in this community. And what was shared from stage was that I think it was the guys in the meat department called and said, "Look, refrigeration's out. we're going to have all this meat go to waste. Is it okay if I bring in my grills? We all bring in our grills and we cook this meat in the parking lot for our customers. So
Right?
not only were they solving the waste issue of we're going to have an entire refrigeration of meat in the back go to waste, but then they were actually preparing the food so that the community who also had no electricity, also had just weathered this storm, was able to come and actually have a nice home cooked meal. So the waste situation on every aspect, it was a great solution, a great way to make sure that they were thinking community first.
I like that.
Yep.
I definitely like that. And you have to, right? Community is everything. I even said that while I was on stage, and I even said, I go, I live on a highway called Gun Highway.
Yep.
And I said, these people go racing through there. They're flicking people off in road rage. I even tell my wife, I go, I recognize some of these people. They live in our neighborhood. And I just start laughing because I'm like, do you not realize that the people that are next to you driving are the people that are mowing your lawn, fixing your plumbing, bagging your groceries? I don't do road rage, just so you know, like, you know what I mean? So it's interesting because everybody has a bad day, right? It happens. But what I was saying, it's community. That's what I wanted to really drive home was it is our community. Stop treating it like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's what you did by buying those bananas, right? You were supporting someone and you don't know who they are, and you'll never get a thank you from them, but you know that you did something good, and it fills your cup and it fills your karma too.
It made me feel better, right?
Yep.
It did make me feel better. So listen, I'm going to give you a little bit of the stage for the next few minutes. I want you to talk about, listen, you got to moderate and you got to really interact with the panelists, the moderators as well for the panelists. And I would like you to kind of step on stage again and talk to me people though about the NGA. Why does 10 Acre Marketing want to be involved in this? Like, what is it? Like people ask me that, why are you here? But I think it's important though, that they know how we support our community.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. It was such an honor to be invited by National Grocers Association to MC their Fresh Summit this year. When I went into it and I had to remind myself, fresh is not just produce, it's the entire perimeter of the store. So going in and talking about really how each one of those departments can be more collaborative with one another in order to service the consumer, in order to meet the trends that are happening right now in shopper behavior, and quite frankly, in health and nutrition. And there was a great session towards the end of the program about health and nutrition. But my greatest takeaways was that coming in as 10 Acre Marketing and working with companies that are either in fresh produce or production agriculture, are creating food products that ends up in store shelves, it was really great to get the perspective of the grocer themselves, to hear what they're seeing on a daily basis in their stores, what they're hearing from their customers, how they're meeting those customers' needs. And we talked a lot about the different customers that shop at independent grocers. They also shop at the big stores as well. And so the learning there for me is that your audience that you're catering to, regardless of what store you are, is diverse. And it is diverse within the store. It is diverse outside the store. You have to be catering to everyone in order to build that loyalty and make sure that shopper wants to continue to come back to your store. And so the point of this week's conference was how these grocers can win with fresh, right? So what does the perimeter look like? What are the trends and what are the consumers looking for? We started by talking a little bit about shrink. I know you and I just touched on that, but how are we making sure that we're packaging things properly, that we're selling the right size SKUs, that we're meeting the consumer's desire for snacking and the consumer's desire for convenience, which continues to grow both of those categories. I wrote down a statistic. It was a quote from Mondelez that, forgive me, I'm going to read it over here, that said, that consumers are sharing that snacking is more enjoyable than meals. So we're really moving out of this 3 square meal a day environment into a 5, 7, 9 opportunities throughout the day to get a fresh item into the consumer's hands, into the consumer's home, right? So that snacking trend, I don't see it slowing down. I think it's only going to get more important in how we're meeting that consumer and what's happening throughout their day.
I agree with you because I enjoy snacking way more. And it's so crazy because everyone, I turned 40 this week. And I think I did a birthday episode like a couple of years ago. I fell on my birthday. But the last 3 years, I've just been really, really, truly dedicated into myself, my body, my health. I've had nutritionists. And some people tell me, like, I do post pictures every once in a while on like my Instagram feed. And I do that because you should have seen me before, right? Like I was more or less like, it's like I wasn't happy with my body. I wasn't happy with how I felt. So I'm proud now. And some people are like, oh, you're like conceited. I'm like, no, like I've never had this. And I'm like, I'm proud. And I share what I do. People are like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I do dragon fruit here. I do this. I do mangoes. And they're like, yo, you eat way too much fruits and vegetables, man. And I'm like,
no way.
What? I mean, it's So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to hear even that kind of stuff. Right. But snacking is one of my favorite things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's not just, we're very ingrained in fruits and vegetables, but it's nice. It's nice when we get to go to an event like NGA's Fresh Summit and we get to talk about proteins and meats and seafood. And COVID wrecked my body too, Patrick. I kind of let it go and got a handle on it recently over the past year. What I'm snacking on would be a meal if I had it in greater quantity. Right? I can have a small bowl of shrimp and like really enjoy that as a snack. I can have an apple. I can, you're having your many, many bananas. I would stop at one, but
not only have my banana, I'm also having a protein shake as well. So I have two bananas and a protein shake.
So I think, just making sure, and the point was, do you have convenience items that are going to be able to stay within an arm's reach of the consumer once they're at home, so that when you do get the sensation to snack, and I'm working from home, once I step 3 feet to my right here, I'm now in my house, right? And so that environment changes from work to home. How do I make sure that I keep fresh snacks, 5 more feet away, so that I'm not going into the kitchen and choosing something out of my pantry that maybe isn't as healthy for me or isn't doing for my body what I need to come back to my work from home environment and make sure that I have the brain capacity to get through the rest of the day. That's really where I think there's an opportunity for Fresh to capitalize on health and nutrition. Make sure those convenient snacks are providing for us what we need to be healthy and to stay alert while we're working from home.
100% agree. That's one of the things New Year's resolution was like 2 years ago, was to eat more snacking produce, right, on the road. And I've done a great job with that, right? I've been buying more items, right? More items that are there, more items that I would say compactable, right? Non-preppable items, right? Things that are easy, right? And I'll tell you this. So I'm at the pizza, the Sendix, kind of like their pizza tour where they kind of hosted that.
Palermo's Pizza.
But Sendix was if you went there, like the Sendix Grocer, they were the like hosts. They were the ones. They were doing it all. And so one thing that I thought was cool, right, is they had a spread of all fruits and veggies and everything. And I told Brian Framson, by the way, Brian has completely ruined my honey bunches of oats experience. I'll tell you that later. But I sat and I told myself, you don't eat pizza, because I really don't, unless it's like cauliflower or white based or oil based. Nothing with red sauce. I can't. No pepperonis, no sausages, none of that. I know you guys are thinking I'm crazy. I went and I said, you know what? You're allowed to have a couple pieces of pizza, but you are going to eat 2 plates of vegetables and 1 plate of fruit before you do. And that's not like, you have to do that. No, I said to myself, that's your body.
Yes.
Eat your good stuff first. And like your nutritionist said, you're allowed to have a piece of pizza.
And that's what works for you, right? It's different for everyone. But I think what we're learning right now is the difference between food that fuels and food that's going to make us sluggish, right? And again, it's different for every body. But it really was one of the key themes this week. And again, like I said, we have that nutrition panel towards the end of the programming, focusing not on Maha, although that kept coming up, and everyone prefaced with, I don't want to make this political, but there is a movement to make America healthy again. There has been a movement to make America healthy for years. It's not just this administration's movement, but it has been getting much more visibility. There's a lot more discussion happening, and there's a lot more legislation that hopefully stays in place to support health and wellness. What we know, what we're talking about, is that fresh is a way to health.
100%.
And that has to be, core to this conversation.
I agree. All right, everyone, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from one more sponsor. And then when we get back, we're going to talk about key takeaways, talk about the pamphlet that was given out, how to execute after the fact. That's one of Mary and I's biggest things in this industry is that, and Juanita says this, Juanita goes, it's like everybody goes into witness protection program as soon as the show is over. Like, what's going on here? But let's figure out how to get you into them without thinking, oh, great, I'm just getting another sales call, right? Yep. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Let's hear from another sponsor.
Zag Technical Services, we do many things. Managed services for IT needs, including consulting. Another area of expertise for us is cybersecurity, making sure that there's awareness and risk prevention. And then the final piece is the data and software services, where whether it's software automation, data management, even AI, we have things that we can do to help your business. Those are core components that your company relies on. So we have a rich history of being able to manage these IT services so that you don't have to worry about them. You trust us so that we keep your operations going and your business going ultimately. When we talk about what AI can do for you and the time savings, even though you don't think you have something that you can just put AI in, you probably do if you have a business case that could be benefited from automation or efficiencies that are brought in. We can trust AI to do those things, and the beauty of that is you can free up time for your employees to do more meaningful work. So even if you think you may not benefit, I think it's worth a conversation because you will be surprised. We'll walk you through every step of the way, and we're here to help.
I love it. Zag Technical Services. And we spoke about AI, everyone, at the conference as well. So it's just, it all filters and flows together. The produce and supply chain industry is just like everything else. I'm going to relate this to the Lion King. It's a circle of life. Everything we do in the supply chain, everything we don't do affects us, just like in the Lion King, right? The elk eat the grass, the lion eat the elk. Like, this supply chain is so complex that it involves things like communication. It involves things like innovation and AI and processes and procedures. And that's perfect just to even go to the point of bringing back Mary on, right, Mary? Like that I do. What I love about our ads is, and I say this like the best way possible, is we're telling that story of what is possible. Like, Zag's here to help. Yeah. I mean, do you know the average ransomware, seriously, for a company, and the average price that is asked for when your website gets hacked? Do you know what it is?
It's got to be above $1 million.
No, it's not. Good guess. 650,000 though is the average.
Wow.
And then guess what though? Normally 50% of that is paid out to those ransom people. Yep. So people are losing, and these people, ransom, bots or whatever you want to call it, they're making millions of dollars off of us.
Well,
right?
We just saw UNFI. I think this was in the news last week that they had a cybersecurity attack, and I saw a very pointed visual that showed empty shelves of food. And that, I mean, talk about drawing the thread from, this is why we have to be worried about cybersecurity in the food supply chain, because it takes one large attack like that, and all of a sudden you have empty shelves, right? And so understanding and unpacking, like, how do you go from a cybersecurity attack to an empty shelf? There's a lot that happens along the way. But 100%. This is where it is important for technologies to come in and protect our supply chain.
I agree. Let's wrap this up. I know as we just came back from break, but I want to wrap this up because our listeners, right? I love to say this too. Like, our average listener is between 30 and 35 minutes. So we want to make sure that we keep you on the right track, whether you're heading to work, you're on the tractor, or you're about to get on that airplane, right? So Mary, key takeaways from this show and some important points that you want to drive home.
Yeah, I want to go back to, we talked about convenience. We talked about the snacking movement. I think those are really important. But from a marketer's perspective, and you and I talk about this all the time, the continual influence that social media has in the hand of the consumer. And a lot of what we talked about from a social media perspective this week at NGA's Fresh Summit had more to do with what's happening in store, that the shopper is shopping with their cell phone in their hand, relying on Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok to inspire them to buy fresh. So they're discovering a new product, or maybe there's something new that's prepared in the deli section, and they're saying, what does this pair well with? What type of protein do I want to bring this home with? Or they're in the produce section and they discover a new berry or a new tropical item, and they say, what can I do with this? They're turning to social media. So we've talked about AI, and really what is happening is that we're replacing search altogether.
Agreed.
We are no longer saying like, oh, let me search that up on Google and see what's going on. Nope. It's let me go take a look at that influencer that is the food influencer I rely on, or let me go ask AI or ChatGPT if they can come up with a new idea. We are an answer first generation. We're expecting to have an answer at our fingertips before we even ask the question. That is a mind shift. That is going to be the future of how we engage consumers in food marketing.
I totally agree with you. I think you're spot on. And one of the things that I would say, I would say that process of getting fruits and vegetables to make sure we have it on the shelf.
Yep.
A couple of weeks ago, there was a cucumber recall. I actually went into Publix about a week and a half ago. I had to take video. I always take video, right? But I took video of all the empty shelves, and I will have a video posted to show all those items.
Yeah.
And one of them was cucumbers as well.
Yeah.
But I would say, some of the key takeaways is, and Zach said it about, like, you probably don't know where to use AI. You probably don't even know how. It was the same thing with social media before. Remember, no one knew how to use it. We didn't know how to integrate it into our business, but you got to start somewhere. Chris Krimitsa says you got to start ugly, right? It might not be perfect, but you got to start somewhere and keep it consistent. So even like the ordering system, with the Empower Fresh panel that I was on, that I moderated, that to me is amazing to help people use AI and not have to go to their notebooks and flip through. Heck, you saw me flip through my notebook to find notes. Could you imagine doing that on an ordering level?
I know.
So my key way is involve AI, get involved in those real world insights, right? Yeah. Because you have to, if not, and I read that quote that was like, AI is not going to replace your job. The person who learns
AI,
AI is going to replace you.
Yep.
So I think that's what it's about. And I think that this conference also breeds inspiration, right? Because it does incorporate local roots into strategy.
Yep.
It has ideas for engaging modern consumers, like you're saying right now, using the tech, storytelling, actionable marketing and merchandising tactics for fresh departments, not just produce, everyone.
Yes.
All of us complement each other. Heck, when Lent is going on, lemons and fish, come on, everybody. Let's celebrate together.
They talked a lot about merchandising and admitted that it's still a challenge to get different departments to work together, but it's moving in the right direction. Cross merchandising, especially around the perimeter, and if you can tag into center store and get a shelf hanger over with the spices, like put a shelf hanger at Tajin, and make sure you're the mango company, like asking for that cross collaboration. I think there's so much opportunity for that cross merchandising to take place that's just going to grow the fresh category. And these independent grocers have so much more flexibility in their smaller, not the store footprint is smaller, but they have less stores to activate, right? So they have 100%. An opportunity to activate faster and to say, okay, we want everybody to be running this promotion or this program. We do a lot of merchandising work with some of our customers, and the cross merchandising and the key components of bringing in center store out into fresh and vice versa has really been where the success is taking place.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I love that we were able to do this together and talk about it. I love that. It's funny that we talked about going to NGA and then you texted me, were like, are you here yet? And I was like, where is Mary at? That she's asking me if I'm here. And then obviously when you were there, I was like, oh my gosh, like we travel so much, right? The week before I was at a Florida Citrus conference. So, and I say we travel so much, it's not yes, we want to, right? We do enjoy doing this, but it is for the greater good of the industry. And that's what 10 Acre Marketing is here for. That's what you're here for. You're helping grow the produce industry, right? So,
yeah. And not just produce, Patrick, right? We really do touch food, we touch fresh food. And I think the opportunity every time we meet with a different group, right? Because I was at the policy conference the week before we went to NGA. There's different conversations that are happening in each one of these conferences. What I love that NGA did is they had that attendee worksheet that walked the attendee through each session and said, don't forget to write down what's happening in the moment. Then you take this back to your office with you. We are very guilty, all of us, anyone who attends a conference, of not putting all of those great learnings into actionable efforts after the show. Because why? We're on to the next one. Right. I commend
100%.
I commend NGA for doing that. Yeah.
No, you're so right. And that was great. And it was funny because one of my first follow-ups back, as you know, I write notes and everything. And it literally was reach out to all the panelists and speakers and review your notes from NGA. Right. So it's like right away when I got back. So everyone, if you haven't joined the NGA conference, right, and you're thinking about attending the NGA Fresh Summit, please do, right? And if you were there, I'd love to hear from you. Tell us what your top session was, who your favorite speaker was, or what are those game-changing ideas that maybe you picked up on. And if for those who are listening, maybe consider some of these key takeaways.
Yes.
All right. So Mary, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate all the guidance, all the mentorship, and all the fun that we get to have together in the industry and growing our industry together. So I appreciate you.
Likewise, Patrick. It was great to be on stage with you last week. And I know future opportunities right around the corner to do it again.
100%. Well, like I say, everyone, we'll see you in the field and on the horizon.
Bye.